It makes side seals last even longer. Hello and welcome back to the channel. As always, I'm Josh, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Today we're going to do a Q&A, and this is something that I've done in the past and for some reason was quite well received. So I put the question forward on my socials, basically asking you guys for questions. I've had a brief look at the questions that you've asked, and yeah, it's exactly how I expected it to be. So I'm going to grab my laptop and we're going to go through these questions one by one. First one here is from Rollersaurus Rex. Favourite engine after rotaries? K20. They just rev high, they sound good, and you know what, they're capable of so much for the displacement. Next question here is from Craig Knott. Is Felix the RX-8 still going, and do you still work on him? Yes, he is. He's exchanged hands a few times now, and he's had a pretty significant makeover since his YouTube days. And it might not be to everyone's taste, but he's well looked after, and I do still see the car every now and again. It comes in for just general maintenance. Another question from Starcase Ryan. What stands out as your favourite driving experience or memory? There's a lot. There's a number of really good experiences, but the Peak District Cruise 2020, it was just as restrictions had lifted through COVID. Restaurants were allowed to open and people were allowed to eat with each other. I just so happened to be hosting a gathering that I do every year, around about springtime, called the Peak District Cruise. And this one was just insane. Everyone met up at Chesterfield. It was packed. It was packed. There must have been about 150 cars when I got there first thing in the morning. An hour later, by the time we all set off, after eating breakfast and going out into the Peak District for a drive, I'm sure someone counted on a drone about 400 cars. It was just pure chaos. It was just so manic that it ended up being a right laugh. I think for the most part it was just to see so many cars come out for this one event that I hosted. It was a nice sunny day. Honestly, it could not have been more perfect. Other than the chaos, and I think someone had a crash somewhere down the line, but get good. This question comes from Double DS Coffee. Shout out to my boy, barista extraordinaire. How many rebuilds has Cygnus had? Now, for those that don't know, Cygnus is what I call my RX-8, and there's a reason behind the name which I'll get into at a later date. But rebuilds, I think, I've lost count, I think 9. At this point I think about 9. But that's just the cost of research and development, and pushing the boundaries and seeing what you can get away with. Another question from Garage Reg. How do I correctly port a rotary? Based on experience, why don't I just show you? So this right here is a perfectly good iron, and I'm going to show you just how we port this. So that's what we call a street port. Tools of the trade right here. And ultimately, this is what you want to be aiming for. You know, the bigger the better. These are just timing marks. We just fill it with DevCon just to make sure it's reset. This is the proper way to do it. And for bonus points, if you make it in the shape of a teardrop, it makes side seals last even longer, which is exactly what you want. Right, hope that was elaborate enough. Right, on to the next question. Pete XXL, how do you slay so hard? Rough paper round. Question from Isaac Moki. What is your vision for Blackstar, and what do you want it to be known for? I think it goes without saying, I'd like for it to be known for good rotary cars. I'd like it to be known for good rotary cars, whether it's just stock, big power rotary builds. As I say, rotary is fundamentally what I want to be doing. But who knows, later down the line, twin turbo Lambos and old Ferraris, or something along those lines, or just funny shit like a 13B and a Toyota Paseo. I guess the sky's the limit in that regard. From Pete XXL again, can we see your RX-8 do a workshop burnout? In truth, my RX-8's dead. We were just addressing a couple of issues that this turbo build has induced, and then, we're turning the boost up a bit more. Sizer Jensen 8, what's 9 plus 10? $11. Now from RAlex93, will you ever collab with Scotty Kilmer? Well, you see, you can't disrespect Scott Kilmer because he's an icon in the motor world.
And numero uno, 1.3 liter on. You could run it on perfume. You could run it on moonshine.
He knows everything and anything about every car in existence. What you gotta do with the 13B is put some snake oil in there to aid compression. The answer to that one is no. Interesting question from RX-8 My Homework. If you could make a film where the RX-8 was the star, rightfully so, what sort of film would it be? That's actually a good question. I think I'd like to see the RX-8 in a setting where it is still the underdog car. Maybe have some car culture gang races, where everything's on the line, reputation, cars, assets, all that sort of stuff, and then the RX-8 just kind of wins it all. With the odd trial and tribulation here and there. That's a good question. That's a really good question. Don't know how to answer it without giving it too much thought, but would like to see something where it would definitely involve street racing, definitely involve gangs and stuff. Something along those lines. Next question's from Taylor317. What memory first sparked your rotary obsession? I think this relates to a lot of us. It's a combination between Fast and Furious, the one with the RX-7 where it sounds like a Honda for whatever reason. Need for Speed Underground. For me, Need for Speed Underground 2 was my first tuner game, if you will. And you pretty much got the RX-8 right at the end, and it just seemed to be a pretty decent car all around. But no, back in those days, my obsession was RX-7s. I remember when I got access to the internet back in the dial-up days, I took a strong interest in RX-7s. Particularly the FD, that the engine was different, it was clever design. You know what it's like when you get into these things, you start digging and digging, and then before you know it, you're on forums and deep archives of information and stuff. So I'd say loosely that was definitely the point in which I became obsessed. Big Daz 1988, when's the next drive out? Now you know me, man. Peak District Cruise comes around every year, round about springtime. At this time of the year, everything's getting locked up away for winter, and projects winter overhauls are starting, and that's certainly the case for me as well. But next year, springtime, Peak District, that's the immediate one. Maybe the odd hoon around the Yorkshire Dales or Yorkshire Moors, anything like that. I'll keep you posted on that one. Question from Shivu. Supercharged rotary when? As soon as I've fucking weeded out the issues of a turbocharged rotary. One thing at a time. I can't just jump in from one project into another. But in due time. Engineer made. Can 20B or 13B engine swap to RX-8 engine bay without a fuss? That's some poor English there, my man. Simply put, the RX-8 already has a 13B. But I know exactly what you're asking. Can you REW swap it without a fuss? No. No is the answer to that question. If by without a fuss you mean, can you do it for free? No. Is it cheap? Depends on what your income is. But I can guarantee, by the time you've spent your hard-earned cash on putting an REW into an RX-8, and then putting a turbo kit on it, and then spending money on a return style fuel system, and then the fab work to get the fucking exhaust system made, and your engine management to allow it to run, and then the list goes on. By the time you spent all that money, the standard Renesis with a turbo bolted on will not only be cheaper, but it'll be quite functional. And then the 20B, if you can find one, great. Remortgage your house to buy it, whatever. Then you've got to rebuild it because some fucking gimp's done a chisel port on it and completely trashed the irons. And then you've got to put the bastard engine in, and then you're completely redoing a whole engine bay. So, and that's just the start. So yeah, in simple, no. On to the next one. Omwidi? I don't actually know how you pronounce it, but why aren't there many rotary builders in the UK? Because in the UK, no one wants to spend any fucking money. People think that tuning a car in this day and age is a fucking downpipe and an email. The market's drying up, parts are few and far between, no one wants to buy brand new parts when their engine goes bang, and credit to the owners that stick with their rotary powered beasts and they go through with a build. They don't just put second-hand parts on that are already fucked and then wonder why their engine's blown up. It's a roundabout way of saying that most rotary engine builders are just tired of the bullshit, and they're tired of being blamed for everything. But I'm going off on a tangent here. What matters is that the rotary builders that still exist must be doing a pretty good job. I'd say so anyway. My man, Habbo Fox, do you know how to get discount at Billions Shisha Lounge? If so, how? So you walk up into the counter, you place your order, and right at the end of your order, you just go, Billions! That's how you get discount. You heard it here first. Rascal 486. Can you perform the sound of a 4-rotor NA with your mouth? Nah. But here's my favourite engine, K20. Joe Tomlinson 88. What's your skincare routine? Well, obviously, use a bit of Vaseline for your lips and that. And then the rest of it's just good hygiene. Just have a shower, fucking body wash, be done. From Mind, Balayage and Soul, who has asked a few questions. What's the meaning of life? The meaning of life is to be whatever you want to be. Be your mythical best. She also asked, what's your dream car? RX-8, obviously. I would absolutely love a Lexus LFA. That's my dream car. She also asked, what started your passion for cars? I think, to be honest, yeah, just noises and how they look and, you know, I guess how I imagined cars to drive through playing games, that played a big part of it. But yeah, I'd definitely say from that. From 46 Labs, what made you choose the rotary and not the far superior BMW M54? First of all, I'm not a Nazi. Second, the ultimate driving machine is shit to work on, breaks equally as regularly, and rather than it just being a replace Apex Seal issue, there's fucking loads on BMW engines. But I guess for the most part, it doesn't rev as high. It doesn't sound as good. And who needs torque when you've got horsepower? Rollosaurus Rex. Worst job you've ever worked on? Obviously not a Fiat. BMW. Definitely say putting a BMW V8 twin turbo thing together after the engine was rebuilt. That was fucking awful. Coolant hoses everywhere. Fucking all kinds of bolts, torques, hex, ribe. Just bullshit. Do away with all that shit. I'm not into German cars. So yeah. Man like Mitsubishi, will you be doing longer videos going more into the builds, especially the 4-rotor build? Yes, just because it's stuff that I want people to see moving forward. I want to see the good bits, the bad bits, and the fucking everything in between, pretty much. Yeah, I think it's interesting myself, so why wouldn't it be for everyone else? Betty Schmem, how many RX-8s is too many RX-8s? Asking for a friend. You love what you love. Have as many as you want. There is no limit. The only limitation is yourself. From Edward Freeman 1, what's your favourite flavour of Doritos? Chili Heat Wave. For anyone that likes tangy cheese, you're a fucking psychopath. Cool Original's alright. It's a happy medium, but yeah. Spicy. Spicy mid-war. A few questions from Tiana is jacked. Big sis. Can you build me a Mark IV Supra in purple, please? Like you promised when you were an Ickle one. Yeah, when I've got a disposable 50 grand or something, yeah. She also asked, what's next for Blackstar? What's next is to build that fucking 4-rotor and absolutely send it to the moon. Following that, she's asked, who's the strongest person you know? I mean, have you seen my sister? Who's as hench as most men that go to the gym. Not only that, she does lift a pretty fucking heavy weight. My balayage soul is back again with another couple of questions. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? If he got wood in the first place, you'd assume you could chuck it. Is Annie really okay? I'll just go find out. Be right back. I checked on her. She's fine. Annie's okay. Rafzito. 13B swap my MX-5 please. Happy Mean and 20 McNuggets is my offer. I'm assuming that means Happy Meal. For a start. Second, when you present to me this, then we can talk. Pete extra large. How much power can an NA Renesis make? So far, the highest number was 224 at the wheels. I still think there's a little bit more room. There's a lot of things I've not tried because I don't have access to a dyno. It's a bit of a hassle to try and revisit it. But for argument's sake, 220 wheel horsepower, I'd probably say is how much it can make quite effectively. And he also asked, how you're so cute? GT Fot, you little fuck. What's the best Camaro you've ever been covered in diff oil by? Don't. Just don't. The trophy's got to go to yours, but newsflash, it's the only Camaro I've ever worked on. And probably the only one I'll work on. At this rate, anyway. RLX93. Will you hire Denton? And please say purple burglar alarm. Is that meant to be a challenge? And fuck me hiring Denton. I want Denton to hire me, but he playing. Chris Smith 97. 1997. When are you donating a turbo kit for my 8? When you donate some hard-earned cash. And the last question is from Dan Shipman 72. If you had 100k to buy 3 cars, what would they be? Another good question. I've got an obsession with a Lexus RCF. I just think they're classy cars. They make a good sound. And they drive pretty well, in my own experience from driving one. And the other two, a K20 swapped EG Civic. It's between a C5 Corvette manual black or a Dodge Viper, probably the later shape. What a good V10. What a fucking cool car. Yeah, K20 swapped EG, a Lexus RCF, I'm going to say a Corvette C5. And that's the end of the questions. Thanks to everyone who contributed. I hope the answers have been somewhat insightful, informative, something along those lines. And the questions, no doubt, have been interesting for me. There's some good ones in there. If you've liked this video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel because there's going to be some more stuff coming up in the near future. We've got a pretty good build on its way here, alongside everything else that's already here, but nonetheless, keep your eyes peeled. And that's the end of this video. See you in the next one.